Katie.
No, I gotta put something under my ass so it doesn't hurt.
And we are live! Welcome to Live Action Roleplay with
Cynthia Marie.
And
Kai. Norman. Alright, that's me. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm super awake and ready for this.
Great.
Let's do it.
So ready.
So ready.
And Ryan Omega. We're all back together again.
The gang is back.
The gang is back. All right. Joining us today, I'm stumbling over my words too. Joining us today are two special guests. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, I'm Jared. It's a pleasure meeting all of you.
And...
Hey guys, it's Lex. I'm back again.
Yay! My sister's here.
Sorry, we're recording off my phone, so when I saw Sin go, yay!
I went Muppet mode.
Muppet mode. Yeah, we're trying to see if we can duplicate that, but we don't want to keep doing that. So, what is everyone drinking today?
Sprite. I had a mimosa earlier.
Nice.
And you didn't share?
It was when I was getting my nails done.
Rude.
Sorry.
Kai?
Pepsi. I don't know.
I had Coca-Cola, and now I have nothing, and I'm very sad.
Did you need something?
A hug.
Oh.
I'll give you one later. You're kind of far right now. Where are you so far? Guys, in between that.
You're seeming so different. Whoa.
What?
Whoa.
We're never going to get to this episode, are we?
No.
Nope.
What are you drinking?
I'm being a healthy boy and drinking some water lately.
Oh, okay.
All right.
boring.
And this is Ryan. I got nothing. But that's totally okay because Jared got me a salad. All right. Shout-outs. Do we have any shout-outs for people that we want to give out today?
Yeah, I have so many. Kai, you go first.
Oh, God. Okay, so... as some listeners may be aware, I've been working on my own LARP or my own chapter in a LARP for quite a while. The last 3 months especially have been very, very crazy and intense, and that's why I've had to miss out on a few episodes. So the reason for my absence is the Dystopia Rising chapter that I opened up in Northern California. The event happened. It was a really big success. A lot of people were not necessarily prepared for it. We'll probably go back and talk about this a little bit more in depth. But my shout out is to the entirety of my staff team. They were incredible, and we were all very, very careful about who we picked to be on our team because we only wanted people that were highly passionate and compassionate as well about the game and, more importantly, the players of the game. And despite any of the obstacles that we actually faced, they done amazing because of the fact that they prioritized people first and treated everyone wonderfully. So... That's my whole team that made that event happen that I'm very, very grateful for.
Yeah.
Well, so my shout-out's for a team as well, but probably a slightly different team. I've been struggling with some small health issues, but had an amazing support group that's taken care of me. So my shout-out goes to, first and foremost, my family, who took care of me for 2 weeks, particularly. Yep, that girl who just dabbed into her hat. My amazing DMs, Jason Carl and Satine Phoenix, who really were very accepting and willing to work with me through all my issues. My cast that I've worked with, both Vampire and Sirens, you guys, when I told you guys about what was going on, you guys were very accepting and you guys were amazing. So it's just really to like my support team who's taking care of me through some of this issues. But as a result, I am going to be stepping back from doing a lot of LARPs. So you guys may see me less at a LARP, but my presence will still be known on this podcast. Darn it. Yes. I have things to contribute.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, so it's to the amazing support team that all like really helped me through some of my issues. I love you all dearly.
Shout out to Angela Bassett. She's the homie. She's been helping me a lot recently with my characters, and just to all the Twin Mask fam. They're pretty cool. Especially Drea fam. Drea fam is best fam.
Jared, any shout-outs?
I really don't have any shout-outs other than to the obvious for all of you for inviting me to be a part of this. I really appreciate it, and it really gave me an excuse to go out and really just explore things. And again, I'm going to also shout out the Twin Mask fam for a lot of things, just the community in general. It's been great, and it's only going to get greater, I hope. I know it will. Yeah, that's all I have.
Positivity breeds positivity, always.
My shout out is, well, first of all, my shout out to Kai and his group over at Dystopia Rising NorCal, because they ran an amazing game, and I've been to some LARP openings, but this one has impacted me the most, and I've been LARPing for almost 20 years, and this one was for the books. You guys did a great job. It's very clear how much you care about people, but at the same time are willing to run a hardcore game.
Yeah,
And
we pushed envelopes with some of our topics.
there was actually one envelope, I understand.
Yeah.
That was important, but that can be brought up later. And also a shout out to John Bassett and Kelly Eden and to Fee and PJ for having me on their cast for a Twin Mask streaming game along with Landon and Angela. So thank you for including me. All right. So topic for today, but before we get to the topic today, like I know Kai, you mentioned very briefly about your games. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Like I'm curious about the experiences of your first running of this game.
So I spent a lot of time. So the formatting for Dystopia Rising is that you've got two main kind of areas that kind of backstage is separated into. You have an in-character area called the Postal Office, which is where people take all of their crafting materials and their crafting skills, and after role-playing a certain amount of time with the materials in hand, they get to turn those into items that other people can use and so forth. And it perpetuates the economy of the game. The scavengers and scroungers and the farmers produce materials. The crafters create the materials into objects, and then the rest of the gaming world consumes and uses these objects to fight and survive and so forth. Or kill each other, as the case may be. But so that's what the post office does. It handles all of the people coming towards the station to be like, hey, I'm a crafter, I just crafted this. And they go, okay, cool. And they write out cards for those people and handle it in that way. And then you've got the back end of that, which is called Ops. Also, in a lot of LARPs, it's affectionately referred to as NPC land. It's where you go to serve your NPC shift, which is a minimum of 4 hours that you are going to help be an extra in the LARP as NPCs and things like that to help everyone else. It's kind of like a community joint thing where everyone works together and lifts each other up. Everyone, the phrase is everyone shambles. Everyone plays a zombie or a monster or something for a certain amount of time. So everyone gets that time in the spotlight as a hero and has foils for them to fight. And I really like how that is formatted. I spent a lot of my time in the NPC land, the ops area, when I wasn't putting out proverbial fires and helping manage the occasional situation with porta potties or missing paper in printers or someone didn't have their ticket properly bought and all of those kinds of things. I was managing the makeup for all of our creatures, helping a bit with story, and generally just kind of being there as the central contact point when players had questions and concerns and wanted to talk to someone that was actually kind of at the helm, as it were, running things. And that occupied basically all of my time. And I don't begrudge it. It was just a lot to do. And with my experience in the special effects industry of working on set for all of the recording and just the entertainment industry in general, working backstage in theaters and handling like film or TV or indie movie sets and things like that, you get, I guess, kind of blasé about things after a certain point in time. It's like shell shock, but not quite. You just get used to it being a constant race to keep the fires from ever getting too big, or more. I like the analogy of sewing a parachute on the way down, and because of all of that kind of conditioning that I've had through the other industries that I've been involved in, this was pretty manageable. I realized that a lot of this doesn't really sound like talking specifically about LARP, but I feel like keeping a cool head and just making sure that people are checked in on a more out of character kind of way is the best way to keep things kind of healthy and friendly. And I've been really, really trying hard with the community as a whole to engage them and help them understand that I have a completely open door policy. That if someone really needs to talk to me, I will be available and I will try to give them the time that they need. I did get up to quite a lot of fun. I realize I'm taking up quite a bit of time here, so I'll try to truncate things a little bit here. So the things that I enjoyed the most were one of the things that make Dystopia Rising so different from other games is you have multiple lives. You have a fixed amount of lives. Every time you die, you lose one of those lives. Your character doesn't know how many of those lives you have, but you as a player definitely see it counting down. Whenever you die, your character gets kind of absorbed into this giant kind of Lovecraftian mass that is underneath the earth, and it screws with you a bit before it resurrects you. And so that means you have these really interesting psychological scenes where I put on creepy music. I put you in a room with either to try and instill a sensory deprivation in you to a degree. If you can't see anything, then you're going to hear and feel and just kind of get the heebie-jeebies a little easier. Sometimes less is more in terms of what you can and can't see and experience. So the site that we were using is an abandoned military base. It's actually an abandoned block of like a city block of, how do I put it?
Barracks.
Yeah, barrack buildings. So a mixture of one-story and two-story buildings that have had most of their inner walls taken out, and they're highly graffitied. And so we found one of the buildings that had an ammunition locker in it, which was a very large kind of chain link cage inside one of the rooms. I would say it's easily like about 12 by 8 feet. And so inside there is where we would do our Gravemind scenes. So it's like very dark, it's creepy. You know you're in a cage because you can just barely see the edges of it. And when your character kind of ends up in the Gravemind, things start talking to you and interacting with you. And it's a very visceral psychological experience where it knows things about you. And it engages your character and starts to make you kind of question and doubt things. It's very, very much the idea of that little voice in your head that gives you either bad ideas or anxiety or whispers darker things into your mind, because everyone does have a degree of darkness to them. The Gravemind scenes are very much about engaging that area of your mind. Basically, by me being the storyteller for that Gravemind scene, I'm playing that voice, and I'm trying to screw with the emotional well-being of your character. So that was a really fun experience. The other one was our entire setting is a little different from most of the other chapters. Most of the chapters in Dystopia Rising are kind of Wild West boomtowns that are founded after the zombie apocalypse. Our one had been around for a while and was actually occupied by a kind of police state military force. And that was very oppressive and very forceful against the player base. And we learned a lot about players and player psychology through that game. And I think a lot of the players learned a lot of things about themselves and other people through existing in that game, even though it was only for a couple of days. But I'm taking up tons of time. So like that's what I wanted to say. And I apologize for...
Sounds awesome, though.
Yeah. I do want to say one thing,
Sure.
in regards to that. Because of this game, and I mentioned this, I guess, in a comment in the Dystopia Rising forum, and that is, like, your game, because of the military police state, but also, not to get into politics, but some of us do think about, like, some of the political climate.
I absolutely intentionally, when we wrote our story, we created parallels without using direct references.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot you can learn about LARP, and I feel that LARP can teach you a lot of things, but we don't want to make things too real. When people want to bring certain real facts of modern day politics into our game, I've actually actively encouraged them to keep things on a more fictional basis rather than keeping it real.
Yeah, and I was surprised of myself when in your game where you're dealing with a very heavy authoritarian government that because in the setting, you are in these barracks, so when a whole bunch of police in armor yell at you to get indoors, a lot of people scramble to go get indoors. Yep. And for my particular character, when he saw that hostages were in that house and they were being tortured, their limbs were being mangled, and there were people who were upstairs that couldn't get out, and Ryan would be the type of person I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to just deal with it. But my character was like, no, I need to go out and tell people. So he was nice enough to the police people to just address their concerns. And then after a while, he said, you know what? There's someone who's lost out there. I have to go get them. And so he left.
You talked your way out of the building?
I talked my way out of the building. And there were people who were outside in other buildings who said, no, you're going to be in trouble. People are going to come after you. People were chiding. It's like, you shouldn't be out here. You have to, you're going to be in danger. You're going to get the rest of us in trouble. But I had to tell other people there were hostages in my building. So I went from house to house. I snuck around buildings. I hid in bushes. Ryan is not that physical, but I hid in places. I saw police and just saw the timing and kind of ran from place to place and told people, this is what's happening, someone needs to help. And I just kept going to different places. And when I finally, I hid for over an hour in different places, just running, keeping myself away from people. And when I finally arrived back, the place was surrounded by these people. And I thought, okay, I failed, because all the police are here and there are people outside, and someone is being tortured, actively tortured, as the police are counting how much time every time this person was being beaten. And I thought I failed. And then someone comes to me from the side, and first thing she says is, do you consent to physical role play? I want to give you a hug. And I'm like, yes. And she gives me the biggest hug, and she said, your words reached the people that they needed to. We could not have done this without you telling them. And I was, as Ryan, as a player, shocked that made a difference. And I literally had no idea this was inside of me until tested in a LARP scenario like that.
That's awesome.
Right on.
And that's the kind of dystopian vibe that I really wanted people to kind of feel in. The more you kind of, in a sandbox, a free agency game, the more you kind of have perceived walls in that sandbox, not through how do I put it? Not through, no, you can't do that, but through, okay, well, if you choose to do that, there will be consequences. Some people will try to exist in this smaller box that you have created through, like the authoritarian regime that is running things. And they'll try to exist in that box and coexist with the people who are oppressing them. And then there will be other players who are going to take things outside that, and they're going to directly rebel against that box. They're going to try and find ways of sneaking through it or breaking it down. And that's the kind of the differences that I really want to see. And I'm looking forward to people kind of engaging with as they kind of tear everything down or maybe build things up.
So experiences like this are very hard to convey. So I wanted to bring us all to the topic of tonight. And the topic is, what is LARP? And I realized that it's a very basic question that we haven't addressed, but Sin reminded me that she and I did record a podcast of this before, but
it is not meant for you guys.
There was a lot of
alcohol.
Yes, there was
I was
a lot
there
of
for that.
There was a lot of that to the point where it was not coherent, and I just kind of ruled, we can't really put this up. I don't even know where it is, so it's not around, but. It is an important topic as more people are starting to get into this activity. And so now it's a matter of having to explain this experience to people that are either curious about it or they just straight out don't know about it. So I kind of want to go around the group. How do you explain what LARP is to people who don't know about it? Anyone can go first.
Actually, I'm not going to steal time here, but I'm also super interested in what our guests feel LARP is to them as well.
I like that. Let's go ahead and do that as well.
So I'll start off. The definition of LARP is a noun, a type of interactive role-play game in which the participants portray characters through physical action, often in costumes and with props. That is the official definition if you Google it.
What's the source on that? Just Google?
Yeah, I just literally Googled dictionary. It's right there.
Oh, okay, cool.
No specific dictionary.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, I work in a corporate industry where people ask me what I do on the weekend, and I go, I'm going to a LARP. What is that? So I have a couple of different explanations for it. The easiest one, when I'm too busy to really want to talk about it, is, hey, you seen that movie Role Models? When they hit each other with like the foam swords? Yeah, that's what I do on the weekends. And they're all like, really? So I explained to them. So I guess LARP for me is just an escapist experience where I get to be somebody else for a weekend and get to explore, or a day or a night, whatever, get to explore different avenues of my personality, because let's face it, when you create a character, the character is a facet of you. It's a heightened side of you, at least I believe that. And so you get to explore that heightened side of you. Like if you wanted to be a murderous hobo, like you get to like explore that murderous hobo side of you that like you don't ordinarily get to do and get thrown in jail because of it, right? Like you.
Not that I encourage that.
No,
we're good people.
We're good beans.
We're
Jared would say.
Good beans. But so on a more complex level, right? If you wanted to get into more of the politics side, where you wanted to manipulate situations. You don't ordinarily afford that opportunity in real life. It's a great place to workshop what-if scenarios and see if that actually pans out in your game or not. So, I don't know. LARP to me is just a great escape world. Yay. What do you think, Lex?
I think you're right. It is a form of escapism, especially since the real world kind of sucks sometimes. But I like to say LARP's also just a family. I've met a lot of great people here who I would probably never have connected with otherwise, and a lot of them, we all have the same interests. We actually live very close to each other, so we go hang out with each other after LARPs.
In LA, that's a real rare thing.
Yeah. You're like 30 minutes away. I'll do it.
What are people?
So It's another way for me to branch out. I've always been a very shy kid, and in the LARP community, I've been able to express myself and do things that I would normally not be able to do, and communicate with a bunch of really rad people, like the people I'm sitting around with right now.
Aww.
Aww.
Except you.
Hey!
Now, Lex, is that how you would pitch LARP to someone else, or is that more you just kind of talking about LARP, what LARP things do around your friends?
I would pitch it that way.
Yeah.
I've talked to people in my classes about LARP who they play D&D, and they've been nervous because they kind of want to get into it. It's like, I explained, it's the same family that you have at the table, but more physical. You're going to make the same connections. You might make even deeper connections through LARP versus just a regular tabletop game. And I mean, I've had some people like have a closer interest into it. I can't say for sure if they like want to check it out because it's not for everyone. But
yeah.
I definitely pitch it as you're going to make friends, regardless if you like it or not.
You won't make friends against your will.
You really are, though. Like, you just come out, you're like, wow, I met some really great people.
Well, I think it's also because of the scenarios that sometimes you get forced into, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
three of you walking down a street that you don't know, and all of a sudden a giant, like, thing pops up, and you all have to fight. And at the end of it, you're like, well, we survived, I think.
That makes us friends.
We are friends.
I mean, you look at a lot of action movies, and you're like, these people would not get along nearly half as well if it weren't for this horrible event that they have to live through together.
Yeah.
Speaking...
You say speaking of horrible events? Looking at Jared?
We're never going to get through this.
I'm scared. I panic.
Run!
I don't feel safe. I mean, I do agree with the points, like where when describing LARP, it is a form of escape. And for me, I've had some people disagree, but for me, LARP is a form of therapy in the sense that I get to learn more about people, even if it is just in a fantasy setting that this is just a character they're playing. You get to really experience. I like listening to people's stories. I like listening to the type of dedication they put into that character. You know, sometimes in a LARP, sometimes you'll disagree with something about the character, but, you know, there's a lot of times for me it's just like looking at a book and then opening it and going to the first pages, slowly understanding. You might not agree with what you read, but you did, and you learned so much, not just about the character, just also how this person amplifies this character. And it's very interesting to me because although I'm not very good with people, thanks retail, but it gives me an opportunity to learn aspects out of a person that I wouldn't normally do in a real life setting. Yeah. What is even real? But and you know,
it's a LARP within the LARP, right?
What's one of your favorite things that you've learned about someone through LARP? Character-wise. And if it reveals plot points, you don't have to say it, but...
Well, you know, what I learned about LARP, and, you know, this specific my character, is that a lot of people are so focused on the big picture of things, like, this so-and-so villain's going to be doing this and that people don't usually pay attention to the story that this person has, why this person is the way they are, why do they hate this specific type of creature, why is there this unusual hate. If you just ask up the question, like, what was your life like? What was your father like? What was your mother like? Then you learn that, they had a son that was slayed by an imp. This is why they are the way they are. It's little points like that tend to be missed. It's just like when a lot of big things are going on, you hardly pay attention to the smaller details that might make a difference later.
So you say that you're... Pardon me for saying this. You said that you're bad at talking to people, but like one of the first things that you learn, at least I listened to this in a TED Talk, is one of the first things to get people to open up to you is literally what you just employed in LARP, which is asking questions about people.
It's easier for me because, like, Jared is different because Jared has a whole bunch of issues going on. But when I play my character, Theodore, again, also a big therapy thing for me is I'm not afraid to ask these sorts of questions because maybe it's it's both the physical armor that I'm wearing and the armor of this character that I have. Emotionally, I'm able to step out of my comfort zone. It's hard to explain, but
You're doing good.
With character stuff, with my character, I particularly I designed this character to not really be like, oh, we're gonna take on the big bads and then we're gonna win. It's more, what's your character like? Why are you like this? What's this? Let me learn more about you. And it's also an out of character reason thing is I like to give people a role play experience where they get to tell their stories, their backstories, because everyone wants to open up their stories, even though the types that are just like, I don't like you, you smell like poop. There's people want to talk about their backstories. It's just, you just really have, I'm not good with insults. You just have to dig, and that's what makes the game for me.
I think out of the 5 games that I played in Twin Mask, I don't think anyone's asked me about my backstory as Allie. Interesting.
I try to do that at least once a game. I find someone that I haven't really interacted with as Corvus. When I have a free moment, I go up to them and I try to find out more information about their characters' lives. Something that you said there, Jared, you were saying like you were having a little trouble articulating exactly why, but the kind of the therapeutic aspect where you were able to kind of ask people questions. Let me know if this sounds right or not. Basically, in this play pretend world that we're all consenting to play, and we've all kind of like bought into the experience. We're all here to do it, and that means we have the objective of like furthering this collaborative narrative story. Because of that gives. Do you feel that gives you the agency and the basically the permission? Even though it's unsaid by people, to actually ask them personal questions like that. Because in real life, it's a little different asking someone's life story versus doing that in a LARP.
Yeah. I mean, that hits it right on the dot. And I mean, at least in game, when they don't want to talk about it. It's like when they pull out the sword, then you're just like, oh, okay. I'm just going to go sit over here in the corner and just not be here. That's super awesome. Like, and I fully agree. I feel like that's kind of that. If you apply that rule of like everyone's here, everyone's consenting to having fun. If you're not going to be a jackass, then like if you're furthering story and having enriching the experience of the people around you, then everyone is kind of giving you consent to be like, no, I would like you to enrich my experience by engaging or playing with me because I'm here to play. Yeah,
it's like sitting down at a table with a board game, and it's kind of the unwritten kind of consent rule of like everyone's sitting down to play the game together because they're all at the table and the board game's in front of you.
And I mean that the reason why I play the character the way I do is because my first LARP experience wasn't that great.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It happens. I didn't have an awesome roleplay experience because people were so focused on plot. I'm guessing it was because of the size of the community, but regardless, everyone was so focused on plot that I had written this, you expect like, oh, I have my character stats, I have my character backstory. Okay, it's just going to be one page, and then you end up writing a 20-page, just like, this is my favorite food, this is why this happened, and...
Evil eyes are happening right now. Evil eyes are happening.
Yeah.
Lots of crosstalk here, guys.
And no one bothered me to ask why I was the way I was, why this character was the way they are. And I was a little bit hurt about it, but then I understand that's just how it is. And I decided when I moved on to a different LARP that I would change that. Yes, I'm a newer player. This is a newer environment, but I've done LARPs before. I want to provide that experience for other players because I'm not as new, but I'm still new. So as a player and both as a character, I like to give people the experience for an enriching role play because in the world, the LARP world that I particularly play in, there are going to be dark moments. There are going to be times where there's chaos going around, but I want to give the newer players the experience that yes, I had this conversation. Yes, my character was able to develop, and yeah, sure, my character was stabbed multiple times on the way to the bathroom, but this happened before that. And I guess, I always say this in game is like my character is just I provide a wholesome and enriching experience beside getting ganked on the way to the bathroom.
I feel like so a few of my other friends have told me of this rule that they apply, and a lot of them are seasoned LARPers. And I feel that this kind of it takes a step forward. When you start LARPing, you're kind of in it more for yourself. And as you grow to understand the idea of and the importance of collaborative narrative and realizing that you can't win at LARPing, you start realizing that it's so much more of a cooperative experience that you start applying to a greater or lesser degree something called the 10-foot rule, which is if you're in 10 feet of me, I'm actively trying to make sure you are having a better experience through at the game. And I think the more people who practice that, the healthier a game becomes.
And I totally agree. And, it's just me giving the experience that I would have wanted. And a little bit inside, Jared, who still might have a soul. When I see someone like smile and come out of the game just like, yes, this stuff happened, but oh my gosh, I had a wonderful experience. If I can make them smile, if I can make their character smile, or make them just like feel that they accomplished something, that's a win for me. I'm not, as much as I like plot, like, yes, plot, throw something bad at me so I could suffer, because we're all the suffer puppets down here. I enjoy player-driven plot a lot more. It's because I know this character, I've learned about this character's backstory, and I just really like it when they start to develop, and I'm like, yes, I know that. Oh, that plot decided to put on that thing where you had your great-grandfather, now he's coming to kill you. I'm just going to watch and just see how this plays out. I like investing myself into other people's stories. That's how I play.
That's wonderful.
Right on.
That's a super healthy way of playing, I think. To slide back to a couple of quick points, the outburst of laughing, I was eyeballing Ryan really hard because Jared was talking about how they always write these big backstories when you only intend them to be one page. Ryan, on the other hand, has recently submitted his backstory for Mario Nintendo in my game, and ladies and gentlemen, it was not one page.
Lo and behold, the writer didn't write
to that.
one page.
Lo and behold.
Now, I realize we've been... I'm going to stop apologizing and just jump straight into it. Something you said a little earlier, Jared, that I made a note of that I actually thought was incredibly profound. You were talking about how every villain has a story. It's kind of that thing, it's almost like looking at someone that is having trouble and saying... You learnt this. You became this way because of your experiences. Why? And applying that lens or filter of empathy to a character in a game, I don't think many people do that. Furthermore, it kind of dawned on me how important that is in day-to-day life to try and engage that in real life with empathy to other people. And it's one of the other things that I think LARP really benefits people. Ryan?
Yeah. I just realized that I haven't given my definition of LARP at all.
No. Yeah, neither of us have yet. I feel so bad.
It's a good definition, though, there.
So I kind of deconstruct my definition. So what I think about for LARP is that if I am playing somebody else and the person who I'm talking to is playing somebody else, like whoever they're not, whoever they say they are, and we both agree that we're in a setting that is different from where we are, you are LARPing. So the reason why I break it down this way is because I think LARP is a lot more of a common experience than we think, but we've pretty much pigeonholed it into it's only this experience that happens.
If you run around with swords fighting in the forest kind of ideology.
Pretty much. But I think it's far more common than we think. And nodding to what Jared had said, it allows you a big sense of empathy when you know that you can get into the headspace of somebody else, and part of your role play is trying to understand who your role-playing partner is coming from so that you relate, whether you interact to help them or you interact to harm them, or you interact to get some kind of action across. And having that sense of play and having that sense of pretend, I know we do that as little kids.
We've talked about that before as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll bounce back to it in a moment. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but or did you just come to a stopping point there?
I forgot what I was going to say.
You were saying about playing with playing and how kids do it, but
but as adults, we usually get into this strange level of, I don't want to have to use this word, but identity politics, where I am these number of things. So, for example, Ryan is, Filipino American. He is gay. He is a writer. He is all of these things. But playing a different character allows me to be liberated from those identities. And it is strange that as adults,
labels.
Yeah, we wear this mantle of labels because that is a level of security that assures us that we are individually these people. But when you role play, you get to wear a different cloak and get to have a different set of experiences because you are no longer hindered by those identities. I realize that's a really strange way to look at it.
No, not at all. But it really makes sense.
Yeah.
So I fully agree, and that's a really good analogy. I think it's really beautiful, actually, and I like how the emphasis that you were talking about play, because it reminds me of like something that we talked about in the past, which was like children when they play, they're either kind of more focused on the narrative or they're more focused on the goals, like playing for sports, or more like, I'm a Power Ranger, I'm a superhero, what am I going to do? I don't know. And they run around the jungle gym and they're kind of playing the same game, but they're not. At least when it comes to playing the narrative. And at a certain point in time of our lives, those labels that you're talking about get heavy enough that we kind of almost train ourselves out of playing pretend. Like, this society is so goal-orientated and so less emphasis on the narrative and the creative that we start to leave our play pretend times behind. And I think it's naturally a good thing to nurture that playing pretend because it's a healthier thing.
You said you had a question.
Okay. So it goes back to the previous conversation, and it's, I guess, for the vets here. You said about the 10-foot radius rule, Kai.
Yeah, 10-foot rule.
So I do the same thing if I see a player sitting in the corner, and I'm like, I'm going to go talk to you because I don't know what's going on. But what do you do when you go up to that person and they just don't want to talk to you? Because that's been my trouble for the past couple of games. I keep going up to people and they just don't want to talk to me. They're busy doing their own thing. I'm like, okay, that's cool. You can do your own thing. But I'm like, now what do I do? Type thing.
I mean, it sounds like, at least to me, you tried. You try. I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, when you go into a LARP, right, you're going for a set of your own experiences. And if you can be open, that's great. But if you're trying to reach out to the people, but, like, their body language is closed and they're not receptive to it, you tried. You gave them the opportunity, but they chose not to take it. And, you can't punish yourself for that. I mean, that's amazing that you're doing that. So
you were trying to give them a scene and they decided to opt out. Yeah. Which is,
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
No, I mean, that's all I was going to say.
It's really back on the other player, right? Like, doing the yes and, that person clearly didn't go, didn't say it, didn't opt in. So, like, it's less on you. It's more on them. So I guess for listeners, I would say if somebody does come up to you, don't shut them down. Even if you are busy, there's always the no, but I'll catch you later for a second. I have to finish this, but please don't let me forget. If you see me walking around, come grab me again, please. Not in a weird way, just because you're speaking, people.
That's really a hallmark of a good, experienced LARPer who practices the more healthier aspects of gameplay. Following the 10-foot rule and doing the yes and no buts kind of situations are how you can really keep the game kind of flowing and make things more about the personal interactions that Jared really, really loves, for example.
I would also venture for the veteran players. So on the flip side, when you get plot, don't be a plot hog.
Oh, yeah.
If you see new players or players just sitting around in general, like, Kai, you do a really great job of doing this, is just...
I try to.
Grab people and do it. So I have my first experience being able to do that at our vampire game this weekend, where I've been gone for... How long were we gone?
We were gone for like 6 months.
Yeah, we were gone for a while, and I play a keeper of Los Angeles, which is a pretty kind of sort of high up there, but not really high up there. I was appointed by the prince.
Middle management?
Yeah, ish. So, but ish. It's about right. That's pretty accurate. Well, our prince wasn't at game, and so I happened to just be sitting on the wall, and everybody like bum rushes me. It was like, so this is what you missed, and this is what you... I became the prince for the night, if you will, and I say that very skeptically.
No, you did. You did.
And so I play this character who's very... You guys all heard about Lola. I don't need to talk about it, but she's flashy, she's whatever. And I had to turn on my business brain and start talking about risk mitigation to people in certain aspects. But then I started realizing that there were players just sitting around. And so I started, whoever I was telling the story to, I'd be like, I could see that there's a new player. I was like, can you take so-and-so with you on this mission? Can you take so-and-so with you on the... And all of a sudden, all the people who were just sitting there just ran off and did stuff. And I was the only one sitting on table by myself. I was like, well, I gave everyone else story but myself. Shoot.
I commend you on that, because that entire game, since I was also there, I saw no one was sitting around doing nothing that entire time. Everybody was busy doing their own scenes.
That was my goal. Was the moment I saw everyone just sitting there, I was like, all right, how can I get people involved in different things and push people in different directions? So that to me was the first time that I've ever been involved in a plot enough to throw that. And I love doing it. The only part it's not that I didn't like, it's I had to pull more of Cynthia into this character rather than being the cute yay, I'm pretty. I actually had to focus and talk to people about business opportunities, and yeah, so it was a little more than I wanted to do with that character, but it's okay. It's a growing experience, and I got kudos actually from someone seeing the growth of that character. So Kat, if you're listening, thank you. Another mini shout out there.
I mean, it's cool that when you bring, I guess with some characters, you're gonna end up bringing more or less aspects of yourself depending on what the situation demands. And even with playing characters like SoCal, who are going to be super diplomatic even with villains, one of the things that he does is that he can command talking to a lot of people. But it's going to pop up with other characters that I play too, like Marion. When I need to attract a crowd, I didn't have a mechanic. I just kind of went, hey, someone has a magic show. Go to our magic show. I realize that you're also all in trouble and need to hide. But here, go to a magic show. And I think part of it was that, in that case, Ryan brought that out because I knew that India, who played July Partridge, actually was practicing her magic trick and for a few hours just so that she can do her magic show. And as Ryan, I was like, okay, no, she's going to get an audience because you practiced to make sure that you are nervous and this is outside your comfort zone. I want to give you an audience because you practiced. And so Ryan went out there and did what Marion did, was hey, everybody, there's a magic show. Because I thought, and then I saw the performance that India did and July did, and I thought that was cool. You overcame something so that you could perform. Yeah. Awesome. So
it kind of brings up the idea, I had a point down here about character sheets and how much your character sheet dictates how much you role play your character. So I'll use the easiest example, literacy, right? So often games there's a mechanic of literacy, and you as a character can choose whether or not your character is literate. You okay over there?
We don't know how to read.
Okay, man. Books are for squares.
So, and so it brings up an interesting point. How much of your character sheet do you truly follow versus how much do you implore of yourself? So I'm looking for a short answer on this one, folks. So just say, yeah, I follow my character sheet to a T, and I'm talking like D&D rules where you have like you're married and like I will only fall in love so many times. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Or do you kind of fudge it a little because of certain situations that occur that you kind of have to pull yourself out? So I'm looking at you, Ryan. Ready, set, go.
All right, so before I do this, I wanted to just point it out that Lex and Jared high-five over the being unable to read thing because that was cute. As Ryan, I kind of do the reverse. For example, Marion, that I play in Dystopia Rising, what I do is I buy skills according to what I need over roleplay rather than... this is a set of skills that I'm expected to have. Mm-hmm. It's skills that I feel like I would be acquiring in game. So I almost like kind of do the reverse.
Okay. Lex?
I try to stay closely to my sheet. So my character in Twin Mask name's Klish. He's a demon. He can't read. If you guys see me with a paper, I will, if someone catches me reading it, just because out of character I'm curious, I will turn it upside down and be like, I don't know what the hell's going on, guys. But, like, good luck. Oh, there's a new rule implied. Doesn't apply to me because I can't read it.
What about you, Kai?
That immediately reminds me of the fact that there's a whole bunch of rules propaganda posters in my Dystopia Rising LARP that have laws of town, and there's a lot of memes and jokes about people who are illiterate just being like, oh well, whatever. And yeah, those kinds of characters got into a whole bunch of trouble. It was great. For me, I mean, I'm not really sure how to answer that. I feel like for the first couple of games, I stick to the character sheet very firmly. I don't stray from a character sheet in regards to like cheating, but like my character is the sum and parts of his character sheet, but also far, far more. There's a lot more that my character knows and the alliances that he has that aren't on my character sheet. So I feel like my character sheet is always going to be second to an established built character that has loyalties and favors and things like that, and has actually just been a social vessel playing.
So it's your guideline. There's a much more...
I mean, when combat starts, I definitely default to following the rules. But when it comes to the actual social role play, I very rarely actually think about what's on my character sheet. Hell, I have flaws on my character sheet that I forget I have. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I forget about them not because I forget to use them. I forget about them because they've become so natively a way of me role-playing the character that I don't realize until like half an hour or an hour later that I went, oh, that was me role-playing that flaw. I've just gotten so used to role-playing certain flaws as that character that they're just an aspect of their personality now, and I don't think about it. Which is why, Sovereign Zeal is a hell of a skill.
Sovereign Zeal.
Yeah.
Jared?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Kai on that one as well. Is, when it comes to the fighting things, I follow the rules. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have to hold myself back a little bit because Jared gets really aggressive because, I see someone swinging a sword, let me see if I can't take him down. Even if they're, one of the biggest boss game, I don't know, Luke Craven, I'm like, I'm gonna try and pick a fight with that guy. It's just me. And that's where...
fighty little goblin.
That's where I pull back. And in terms of, the social aspect of things, yeah, I follow straight to the sheet and... sometimes I don't know that I'm enacting these things. I just do it because I've gotten used to it, not knowing how to read. For example, there was a thing in game called the date auction. Someone gave me a paper. I didn't know what it was. They just said, oh, it's a thing for best friends. I was like, oh, best friends? I'll get to make best friends. And then I started hearing people talk dirty, and I was like, oh, this isn't a best friend auction.
Oh, it's great.
It was a one, and I'm so happy that I followed those flaws because it was great. Because when someone, I went up to one of the people that know that Theodore is just a small little child, and I'm just like, someone told me they'd give me a good time. Does that mean they're going to give me cookies and milk?
Oh,
wow.
Yes. Yes. Cookies and milk.
It's just for the sheet. I'll follow straight to the character sheet. And role play, sheer will, and comedy relief is what I go off of.
I think that's absolutely amazing. Right on.
What about you, Sid?
Oh, yeah, I guess I should answer my own question.
Yes. Can't get out of this one.
Tell us more.
So I do follow my sheet. I think I use it more as a guideline, and I probably imbue a lot more of myself. So one example that came to mind was I was trying to figure out a riddle that there was a music box that was playing. This is in Vampire. Music box was playing, and like it's just this song that's monotonous over and over and over again. And my character is not much of a researcher. If you look on the sheet, like 0 dots in research. Mm-hmm. But Cynthia started thinking, all right, how can I actually research this without actually having the dots on it? Well, lo and behold, I have 5 dots of performance and dance. I know a lot about dance, a lot of history of dance. Well, with the history of dance, you should probably know music at the same time. So I went to a storyteller and I basically mapped this logic out. I said, as a dancer, we should be expected to understand X, Y, and Z music. My character has done ballet, therefore she would know a bit about classical music. With that information, could I find out what this song was? And they were like, yup.
Nice.
So it wasn't on my sheet per se, but with kind of logicking it out of it, I kind of figured out how to get a plot point. So I guess I use my character sheets as a guideline and kind of find the loopholes in it.
I know you call it loopholes, but I call it really creative thinking, and I totally love when people can take aspects of their character that might be hard mechanics. Are you all right? Did you
die?
Did you just die?
Yes.
Do we need to send you to Orphan?
No.
Not again. But going back to what I said, like I love when people can creatively think about their abilities in new and interesting ways so that they can interact with plot in a unique way.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like we're starting to come towards the end of this podcast. So, Jared, what are your social medias if people want to see what you're up to?
Oh, man.
Or if they would like someone to actually creep on them.
Instagram. Too Hard the Bard. Don't ask the background for that name. It just happened. That's the same thing also with my social media on YouTube, but I hardly use that anymore because as much as I don't want to agree, I do have a life. May not be the best, but I have to do it. So yeah, same thing, Too Hard the Bard. Yeah.
Right on.
All right, Lex, your social medias.
You can find me on Instagram at its_Lex, or on Twitter. I'm pretty sure that's also just It's Lex. That's pretty much all my social media. It's Lex.
Sid.
Oh, wow. All right, here we go. Long list of things. You can find me on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on Sirens of the Realm. That's twitch.tv/D&D. I play Girasol, a level 7 bard from College of Swords. You can catch me on Fridays, Geek and Sundry's Vampire the Masquerade, LA by Night Chronicle. We are in our last episode tomorrow night, so by the time this airs, we'd be done. No, actually, I can't say that yet. Just stay tuned. There are other things. That one is at 8 p.m. Geek and Sundry. So twitch.tv/Geek and Sundry. Yes. Thank you. When do we drop these? We drop these every 2 weeks, every Wednesday. So you'll find me on here. But on the social medias, Twitter is @SinDancer. I'm getting way better at it, so you can actually talk to me. I know there are notifications that pop on my phone, so I know it works. Or Instagram, it's Cynthia__Marie. That is 2 underscores. If you were ever wondering what my characters wear throughout the show. Whoa.
Wow.
You tell I've been doing that for a while.
You've been a busy girl.
Whoa.
Kai.
I go by Yokai Props on Twitter and Instagrams. I have Dystopia Rising NorCal, which is my business, as you are aware. You can find the website for that at www.dystopiarisingnocal.com. And you can also check out the Twitch show that I'm a part of called Inkwell Society. That is on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. PST. on the official D&D channel and on Twitch, and I believe also on the Maze Arcana channel. Both of those are an opportunity to catch the show.
When is your next game at DR NorCal? Do you know?
My next game at DR NorCal is going to be the November 30th, and then the one after that is going to be December 14th.
Oh, my birthday.
So there's two very there's a bit of a stretch to the next one, and then a quick 2-week turnover for the next. So that's going to be an experience for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
You can reach me, Ryan Omega, on Twitter under Ryan OMGA, on Instagram under Ryan Omega. On Saturdays, you can find me on twitch.tv/Maze Arcana on this show, and Asadora, where I play Delexo, the guy who's always in trouble and has a permanent cold. And then on Mondays, around 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I do my tarot card reading podcast, #Weekly Forecast, where it's me reading a bunch of readings, usually with alcohol.
It's so much fun to watch you do it.
Thank you.
Great.
Like last reading, I was reading using joking hazard cards.
Oh, boy.
And it turned out to be really accurate. That was interesting. And I'm always looking to do really interesting things. I'm not always limited to tarot cards, but I kind of like doing that. Before I forget, I wanted to say a huge thank you to the people who have been supporting the Patreon for live action roleplay, as we've also had a few new patrons, including Talon Hacker.
Yeah! Talon, thank you!
And Aaron Ludlow.
Aww! Aaron!
As well as our supporters Twin Mask and Lost Colonies LARP out in Virginia, and Geeky Tees. Thank you so much for your constant support.
We love you guys. Thank you.
All right. So thank you for joining us on our topic for today for What is LARP, and we will come up with more content soon, and until next time,
Bye.
Bye.